Thank you. Good evening, everyone. It's lovely to see so many of you. And I'm keeping my computer firmly onto gallery view so I don't see myself writ large. And also I can see all of you. And one of the great things about Zoom is that ability to see 25 people at once and to rejoice in all the people of God. But it's good to add my greetings to Charlie's and also to bring greetings from Bishop Donald, or should I say, Season's greetings. I've already seen some of the great things lined up for this evening, not least Nolan's inspirational talk that follows my few words, and we're all in for a veritable feast. Can I just encourage you, unlike Christmas dinner, where it seems to me the aim is to eat, well, not just as much as you can, but at least a little bit of absolutely everything. Can I encourage you not to do that this evening, but to pick maybe one or two great ideas and to work with those and not to try to do the whole lot? If I have a text for this evening, it's this. So this is slightly tongue in cheek. That God so loved the world that he didn't come by Zoom. Zoom is great and it's rescued us through this pandemic. But God sent his son in flesh and blood to share our real life, not socially distanced world. And that's why Christmas remains so important, perhaps even more important this year, and why it feels so painful just contemplating a Corona Christmas without all that immediacy. However, there are some good things. The different kind of Christmas means that we can avoid the usual overinvestment in the perfect festival. The Church Times this week was being rude about what they called the good housekeeping Christmas. And for many years at the beginning of Advent, which this year you can keep, I would reread Gilly Cooper's deliciously jaundiced How to Survive Christmas. Gilly Cooper talks about the O'Aga family, Scarlett, red-faced because she's always slaving over the oven and under pressure. Their children, Holly, Nicholas, Carol and Robin, and the husband, Noel, or rather Noel, because of course he's absolutely no help at all. And Gilly Cooper coins the phrase granimosity for over-competitive grandparents. But joking aside, in many ways, the first Christmas was far from perfect. Indeed, it was something of a disaster. A teenage unmarried mum, far from home, no family support, no medical attention. If only Caesar Augustus had chosen August for the census. If only Joseph had booked ahead. If only the angels had found some higher status witnesses than shepherds. If only the not-so-wise men had used a sat-nav rather than a star and brought rather more useful gifts. I gathered from the food bank this year that Aldi have the best nappies. But making do with what you've got is what the first Christmas was like. Working out how to cope with the unexpected is what happened to Mary and Joseph and our baby Lord. Somebody once said that our challenge this Christmas is to put the odd back into God. But there is still sadness and loss, regret, not least about the people we won't be able to share Christmas with. And again, that's an experience that many find every Christmas, those who've lost loved ones, those who've lost people in the last year. And so I would commend the Blue Christmas stuff that's amongst the resources available on whatever the web all is called, that acknowledges that sadness and that pain. But also there will be a sense of loss at the events that you'll miss. We maybe probably will miss the 25 carol services. Can I encourage you to focus on what you can do, not what you can't, and do what you can do even better? And there will be opportunities, not least the fact that very few people will be going away this Christmas, and the newly discovered connectivity through social media. And just by way of encouragement, Laund Abbey were agonising kind of a few months before Easter as to how on earth they would cope with Holy Week. And the Laund Abbey retreat would normally serve about 10 or a dozen people. This year, going online, they knocked up over 1,000 views. So all is not lost. So why is it important that we continue to celebrate and make the most of Christmas? In the first place, It reflects our calling to make God known, because he is a God who makes himself known. Christmas is sacramental, an outward and visible sign of inward spiritual grace. Emmanuel, God with us. And that Christmas gospel, in the beginning was the Word made flesh, sharing our life, dwelling among us, pitching his tent in our midst. And as John writes, we have seen his glory. At the very end of that Christmas gospel, this telling phrase, no one's ever seen God, but his only Son has made him known. And we share in that making him known. Secondly, it's important that the church is not invisible. We haven't been invisible in lockdown. There's that astonishing Sunday about 3 or 4 weeks in when we managed to crash Zoom. So many Christians were taking part in online worship. And even the secular newspapers, who tend to ignore the church, were forced to acknowledge that we were still there. But I would just encourage you to think about the platforms you use, because some platforms, because they depend upon invitation, are more visible to insiders than those on the outside. And so think of how you make what you do available, not just to those who are already on your mailing list, and find ways to include everybody. And then finally, it reminds us that God is not distant, socially or otherwise. He longs to share our lives and wants to be part of your Christmas, your life, your family, your everything. I'm going to conclude by reading a very familiar favourite poem of mine, R.S. Thomas's famous poem, The Coming. And I'm going to do it from a volume produced for this Advent by one of our clergy. So this is the book plug. Caris Walsh, Frequencies of God, readings for Advent based on the poetry of R.S. Thomas. Absolutely brilliant. The Coming. And God held in his hand a small globe. Look, he said. The sun looked. Far off, as through water, he saw a scorched land of fierce colour. The light burned there, crusted buildings cast their shadows. A bright serpent, a river, uncoiled itself, radiant with slime. On a bare hill, a bare tree saddened the sky. Many people held out their thin arms to it, as though waiting for a vanished April to return to its crossed boughs. The sun watched them. Let me go there, he said. My sisters and brothers, can I wish you a very different, but a very happy Christmas. Thank you.